welcome to this Coherence Cookbook podcast series. My name's Terry Gibson and I worked with GNDR on the production of this cookbook. This series is designed to help practitioners working at a local level build resilience in an integrated way. We hope you will understand key ingredients for doing this, draw on recipes using these and apply them in your own work. This is the first episode of 3, the introduction to the cookbook. And we're going to start by going to 2 very different situations. Firstly, in Guatemala, where a massive earthquake struck in 2018, causing substantial loss of life. This was a major disaster. Half a world away, in a Philippines slum, people contend with a whole range of small-scale, everyday disasters. But in both cases, we're asking, what does coherence mean as an approach? And how can it help to strengthen the lives and development of these people? The Volcano de Fuego in Guatemala is an active volcano. People are used to hearing the rumblings coming from it. But what happened in 2018 was something radically different. The volcano erupted suddenly and tens of thousands of people were displaced from their homes and over 300 people died. Local organisations started wondering what they could do to respond in an integrated way. So they started by drawing together people who'd been displaced and moved to hotels in adjoining cities and finding out what their needs and priorities were. It became clear that what they needed was economic security. They needed to find new employment. And so they worked together with local businesses, with schools and with local government to train people quite quickly in new professions and skills. Within 3 months, people were starting to become economically secure. And they felt that not only had they secured the livelihoods of people there, but they created strong partnerships in the local area. This was an integrated or coherent response. Often the challenges that communities face, and from many different small-scale, everyday disasters, which have a cumulative effect on their lives. This was certainly true of the community at Yagabayo in Mandaue City in the Philippines, an urban slum community which had a long history of being marginalised, originally a leper colony. It faced numerous problems. Waste flowed down into the village, sanitation was poor, health also was poor, and people struggled to find livelihoods to sustain them. The organisations that worked with them gathered them together and asked what their priorities were. And out of these discussions, they took a landscape approach, a kind of all-encompassing approach to the different factors that affected the community. And from this, they identified a whole program of linked activities: waste management, plastics recycling, turning the waste into compost, using the compost to grow urban vegetables, and starting a cooperative to sell other products that the villagers were producing. This again was an integrated or coherent approach to addressing the challenges that people faced. There are 2 examples of coherent or integrated action at local level, and we can see how that makes a lot of sense. But why is this term coherence used so widely? Let's take a step back and think about it for a minute. Coherence is a term often used at the international and policy level. It refers to linking together international frameworks, including the Sendai Framework for Disaster Reduction, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, and the New Urban Agenda. Although these are separate frameworks, they're all overlapping and concerned with the same outcomes, with the Sustainable Development Goals as an umbrella over all of them. So that's international and national level, and that's to do with policy. But at local level, coherence is also important, as we've seen in those 2 case studies, because rather than working piecemeal on different projects, taking a broader approach, integrating the different needs and challenges and working out a coherent program of action is important. So locally we can talk about horizontal coherence, coherence which links together different concerns and different actors. But there are also links to that other area of coherence, and this is what we call vertical coherence, because the actions that people take locally are linked to and depend on local government policy and plans, and there are many plans at local level. These in turn link to national plans, and these ultimately link to international frameworks. Taking, for example, climate change and the Paris Agreement, this has an international dimension, but that informs national policy. That in turn determines local government plans. And if we want to work coherently at local level, then we need to understand those frameworks and plans and understand how we can work in a complementary way with local government and national government to connect what we're doing to their plans and policies and tap into their budgets. So even thinking about coherence locally, where we can see the sensor actions like those we saw in Guatemala and in the Philippines, we also need to understand coherence at those other scales, and we need to understand those links through vertical coherence. That's what we're going to look at in more detail in the following modules. For all GNDR's coherence resources, and to participate in the Coherence practice group in the community platform, you can go to the web links on the screen now, which will provide you with all the information you need and connect you up to other people working on coherence.